You actually got your first customer before even establishing a company. You were a person who just wanted to experience life and all these different kind of jobs.
To study, and I was interested in insects mainly. It took several years for me to learn it, but then I finally learned it. And then I would say that I also have this small company that I'm doing this kind of DNA analysis. And I do everything gradually because the pile keeps stacking up. Could I actually establish company? I don't know anything about business.
It's very entrepreneurial. It's like you had the safety of what you were doing, the status quo, the things that you do well, and then suddenly you're like, you know what, I can expand.
So we are naming organisms, so bio-naming.
So what exactly does BioName do?
We have this slogan, you name the samples, we name the species.
In the beginning, when you have this skill set and you create your own company, it's often that you want to do anything and everything.
DNA is DNA. So each organism has their own DNA, and when it's DNA, I can work with that. When you said that I speak language of business, that I realized later that this is actually how it goes.
That's a crucial point because you're also highlighting the importance of not just focusing on your science and commercializing it or providing a service out of it, but you're also thinking about, okay, how does this work with the regulations, and I need to be up to date.
I instruct anyone thinking about establishing company, just do all the research before you establish.
Yes, it's good to be entrepreneurial and you're an innovator and you want to go out there and get your innovation out to the society, but at the same time it's nice to also research the support systems that we have around us. I had a question. What is your story? Eero, Vesterinen. Nice to have you here with me today.
Yeah, nice to be here. Yeah, thank you for inviting.
It's our pleasure. Eero, I had a question. What is your story?
So, where should I begin?
Wherever you like.
Yeah. So my story is actually longer than usually. I've always been interested in nature. When I was a kid, I was looking and collected these small bugs and butterflies. And at a later point, I was also watching birds a little bit. But then during the high school, I wasn't sure what to do. So I was just going to school and maybe skipping half of the classes. I shouldn't say this, but I did so. For some reason, then I wasn't sure what to do. So it took me about 7 to 8 years after high school to come to university. And in the meantime, I was working. I was like washing the rooftops of building and painting them. And I was in this offset, doing all these kind of these phone books that they used to have, these thick ones and all kind of things. I was cleaning the cruisers between Finland and Sweden, and I was working in many ways. But then I realized at some point I had to do something I wasn't born to do this kind of thing. Then I applied for the biology.
That's a beautiful start.
Yeah.
So you were a person who just wanted to experience life and all these different kind of jobs.
Yeah,
from cleaning roofs to floors to serving to.
Yeah, well, it was like small tasks to do every now and then. I needed some money. But when I applied at the university, you can apply for several universities using one exam basically. Okay. So then I had to go to Oulu in the northern Finland, or they say the middle of Finland, but we say northern Finland. And then after 1 year, I was able to get this transfer to University of Turku. And then I started to study, and I was interested in insects mainly, but also in bats and other creatures. Then I continued directly to the PhD studies when I studied bat diet and all kind of things. I have lots of collaboration already at that time. During that time also, these new technologies like next generation sequencing, they evolved, and I started using them immediately for my PhD studies. So I was in this kind of first wave of this new technology, and that helped me a lot afterwards. So when after my PhD, I was asked for doing several things for different projects in Finland and abroad, and then gradually it happened so that I had too much collaboration, too much things to do. I always said yes. Can you do this? Yes. Can you help me with this? Yes. And that led to this point when I realized that I have so many collaboration projects. I was never PI for anything at that time. And then I just realized I cannot do all this work during my academic hours. And that is actually also the time when I realized that maybe there is another solution for this kind of work.
Beautiful. It's such a rich story. Especially the part that you're like, there was this new thing called DNA sequencing, and I was like the first to jump on board.
Yeah, it was coincidence really. Okay. Because I was going to use first this kind of very traditional, like these methods from the 80s, even 70s, these kind of cloning, and cloning in this sense means something else than the cloning of this Dolly the lamb.
Dolly the lamb, yeah.
Yeah, it means like putting something in the bacteria and culturing bacteria and then picking up these different sequences there. But I was going to do that. I had all the equipment, all the reagents in the freezer. But then we heard about this new technology, and then I realized that maybe we can try this, and it took several years for me to learn it, but then I finally learned it. And
it sounds like you were very open to try something new.
Yeah.
And say yes to a lot of people.
Yeah, I do that a lot. Yeah, I always say yes. Yeah. And and I was thinking that maybe it's I like to help people. I like to solve problems and issues, and that's what I'm good at doing. You say you have a problem, I just see a solution, and then I say, okay, can we do this? Yeah, let's try. And another thing is that we shouldn't think about doing things for several years. We should just do it, and if it goes wrong, we learn it and we do better next time.
Let's change the situation a bit. If we are in a conference and somebody says, "Hey, can you briefly introduce yourself?" What would you say?
Well, nowadays I would say that I'm working at the university. I'm teaching mainly, and I'm a molecular expert. That's what I would say. But then I would say that I also have this company, this small company, that I'm doing this kind of DNA-based analysis. Usually, first I would like the other person to say what they're working with. So then I have a ready solution for them already for this. And then it's usually a nice opening for this kind of collaboration, or even this person to become a client.
It's a beautiful concept, actually, is that you're trying to hear what is this person having their challenges in, or what is their area of focus, so you can help them.
Yeah.
I think that's a beautiful mindset to walk into a medical conference.
Yeah, I think I usually always go like that nowadays. I don't expect that people want to hear like my exceptional study and research. It's not that exceptional anymore. It used to be. Like 10 years ago, people were thinking, oh, wow, can you do this? Can you just take any sample from this disk and analyze everything? I said, basically, yes. But now it's kind of more common day technology. Now the challenge is to kind of how to actually do it. That people not everybody can do it. They don't have the skills or the money to do it. So there are lots of things still that we can help.
And that's one of the things that I would love to ask you more, is how you can do it. But before that, I want to ask you, so what is your company? You said you have a company. What is it called? And what's the story behind that company?
Well, I had lots of collaboration. I always said yes. So that leads into some issues, for example, the time. I don't have time to do everything. And then it was maybe 2018, 2019, I realized that now it seems like I have some projects that I have not been working for 2 years, even though they have been kind of almost ready and the data seems to be ready, all the samples have been collected already. I realized that maybe it's not good for the other people to wait, that I do everything gradually, because the pile keeps stacking up. And then I was thinking this company, that could I actually establish company? I don't know anything about business. I don't have education for these legal things or hiring people or these kind of things. But then I just read some articles, watched some videos, how to do it. What's the worst thing that could happen? Like I lose a few €100 in the beginning. I'll take the risk. Then I organized one big client who was my main collaborator. And he said, okay, sounds very good. Let's do it. And then I just established the company, and I had first customer already waiting. Then I just used some of my own savings for this to establish this company, and then we started doing. Yeah, and if we think about the early years, exactly the early days, of course I needed a laboratory to work, of course. And I didn't want to do it like secretly at the university. It sometimes happens that people just start doing some own things at the university or some laboratory. I contacted the university the leaders and our department leaders, and I said that is there a possibility to contract, make a contract that I can rent a small part, like a small corner of a laboratory to do my own things? And they said yes. But it was a long journey. It took almost half a year for the university to reach this kind of agreement. And then I finally signed the contract and I started working. And then I had some one worker there to do the job.
Nice.
That's how it started. Yeah.
It's very entrepreneurial. It's like you had the safety of what you were doing, the status quo, the things that you do well, and then suddenly you're like, you know what? I can expand.
Yeah.
And you actually got your first customer before even establishing a company.
Actually, that's very common. That's very common in these kind of businesses because if you don't have any customers, and then there will be no income. And if you have to start by marketing first, and it takes like 1 year to get the first customer. But my customer was very good because even the first day we started, he started to say good things about me and my company. I have been actually working with him already at the University of Helsinki and in Sweden, the University of SLU in Uppsala. So then he started to, in conference when he travels around the world, he started saying that actually there is this one guy and he has this company and you can send your samples in. And then suddenly we started getting this, without any marketing, we started getting more clients.
Word of mouth, the classic.
Yeah, it's the classic. It's classic and it works very well.
It works very well.
Yeah, if this person is kind of reliable who says these things.
Yeah. Absolutely. He trusted you. He got a good service.
Yeah.
He became your marketer.
Yeah, and he still is actually.
He still is.
Yeah.
What is the name of your company?
Bioname. So bioname. So we are naming the biology. We are naming organisms. So bionaming is a thing. I had several options. That was also one thing. I spent like several weeks, even months, in 2019 to think about this, the name for the company. Even 2020 when I established, I spent a lot of time to think about the name, and I had to Google a lot.
Okay.
We didn't have this kind of artificial intelligence and these machine learning algorithms, so nowadays you can ask for a good company name and get like millions of propositions for that. And then I asked all the students, also some of the students when I worked and saw them at the lectures, and then my colleagues and everybody, I asked about good name. And this name actually wasn't the first option, but the first option was taken already. And this was something that one student, one of my graduate students said that, could it be Bioname? And then I was like, Bioname, why not? It's very easy. It's easy for the Finnish, it's easy for the, in Swedish also,
yes.
For Svenska it's easy, and internationally, it's super easy. So that's how I chose the name.
It's so interesting where the name Bioname comes from. And so what exactly does Bioname do?
So the name is the Bioname, so we name biology, we name species. We have this slogan, you name the samples, we name the species. And what it means, we take the sample, it can be anything, it can be dust from any surface, it can be soil, water, even air samples, some kind of dust in the air. We take the sample to the laboratory, and then we use this kind of methods called DNA barcoding, DNA metabarcoding, or DNA metagenomics, which means that each of the organisms have their own genome, or own genes, and they are all different from all other organisms. So you can differentiate different species or even different individuals. If I would sample this desk, I would get DNA from all the people in this room and maybe all the people who have been using this for the past 3 months maybe. So we take the sample to the laboratory, we extract DNA using very basic methods. But after that, we have different options. And usually what we want search for certain genes, which are the different genes for insects, mammals, bacteria, fungi. But certain genes, we amplify them in the PCR reaction, and then we sequence them in different machines. It can be a big machine, a small machine. And then we identify that sequence that we receive using public databases. And we also have our own databases nowadays, which we kind of put on top of these public ones. So using this method, we can say that this sample that you had is this species. Or if it's like a soil sample, we can say that these 1,000 bacteria live in your sample.
Oh, that's very thorough knowledge.
Yeah.
And based on this data, what do usually customers do with this data? Now that they know I have this much bacteria in my soil, how does that help them?
Well, it depends on the customer, so they have all different questions, but many of them are interested in this community ecology, for example. They want to know what kind of microbes live in the soil in Finland or in the Brazilian forests or in the Arctic or Antarctic zones, and for different seasons. Is it different than the summer compared to winter? And these are the things, that the customers is doing this kind of analysis. For some of the customers, we do statistical testing and these kind of things, but mainly our core is the turning this sample into this kind of statistical data that can be analyzed. But they use it in various ways.
Nice, nice. It's like you have a flashlight and you're showing them like what is actually in this sample of air or even dust.
Yeah, and of course nowadays we can propose more. So if they're only interested in this kind of microbes, I can say that okay, you can go from bacteria to fungi and even protists or nematodes, and actually you can expand it to these kind of things. So we can. It's like in the some of these burger places. You want this mayonnaise? Do you want the extra fries and these kind of things? And we can add nowadays that too. And usually the customers want some of these because they are better to take it in one go and not do the whole research again next year.
Yeah, that's true. So you go so much in depth based on their needs, of course.
Yep.
Maybe one thing that comes to mind is that very often when you start actually creating, let's say maybe in the beginning when you have this skill set and you create your own company, it's often that you want to do anything and everything. So did you from the beginning have a clear focus, like these are the products that we do, these are the services that we do, or how did you approach this?
Well, yes and no. So it was clear to me that we first stick into this environmental research. So we don't do any human samples or clinical samples or diagnostics because they require different kind of accreditation for the laboratory and different kind of things, and that it's more risky. But there's also more money. So maybe in the future we can do this. So that was one. But other than that, DNA is DNA. So each organism has their own DNA. And when it's DNA, I can work with that. I can identify it. So we don't have any restrictions. The main thing about our laboratory is our company is the turnkey solution, the full-scale service. So the customer only needs to hand in the samples and we tell all the methods that are needed until to find nice data that we can give to the customer. So it's kind of, there's more service than the customer knows of. So basically we are doing a lot of things that the customer doesn't even see, but like accumulated knowledge of these kind of different kind of sample types, different projects. And that's actually what was good in the beginning, that I had worked for several projects. I didn't have a like clear goal. Usually when you are kind of aiming to become a professor, for example, you have very narrow nowadays this subject, a topic that you're working with.
Yes.
And then you can be the top of the world. And then you become a professor. For me, I was like a jack of all trades, basically. I knew a little bit about everything and broad knowledge. And that's how kind of I realized that maybe this is not good to become like this top professor or something, but it's good for the company. It's good for helping everybody. So anyone I talk at the conference or somewhere in these kind of meetings, then maybe I can help a little bit something. I can give a little bit something for them, maybe. So this is the kind of the idea. Kind of we know many things, we can do many things, but so it's not narrow, but basically it's kind of restrained by the DNA.
You know so much about so little.
Yeah.
And then here you are, you're saying that actually when I knew a lot, so much about many things, it made sense for my clients and for people to be able to help them better.
Yeah.
Have this kind of broader view of things. And so it's really interesting that this is actually a very unique thing, what you're mentioning, because a key turn solution, and you give them this peace of mind, you're speaking the language of business.
Yeah.
People want peace of mind.
Yeah.
And here you are kind of collecting all the scientific things that scientists know. It's, we know the sequencing and we know this is the methodology, but people out there don't know.
Yeah.
And they don't know how we can make their lives easier.
Yep.
With our science.
Yeah, that's true. And when you said that I speak the language of business, that I realized later that this is actually how it goes. You just simplify things, but in the research you cannot simplify too much. And in the research, when you talk to these top level researchers or professors, they don't like this business jargon. They don't like this. They don't like that I say that, oh, we can do everything. Just give me one sample and everything is solved. I have to appreciate that their work also is very complex. It's very complicated. It requires lots of knowledge. And I just tell them that this step of doing the analysis and turning this shitty, it's literally sometimes these droppings, turn this into fine quality data. That's the thing that we can do. So you don't have to worry about that. We do that, or we know how to do it. This is the level of business that I have learned to do. So I can nowadays promote my like without like irritating the customers, because they don't like if I call every day the head, please buy our services. But they like it when I said, I noticed that you received this 1 million grant to do this thing. This is actually something that we can do. So let's set up a meeting and let's discuss about these things. And that's how it goes. But it's not easy to contact customers.
Yeah, so it's quite daunting.
Yeah. And I don't have still, because this is still, even though it's going well, this is like a side job for me, like a moonlighting. So I'm university person. I'm still teaching and doing research. And when I don't have that on my own leisure time, then I do the business. So at some point, maybe I have to decide, will I go this way or should I go this way?
That's, I want to ask you about this. This is a very, very crucial point. Like, when do you do the jump? But before I do, there's one thing you also mentioned earlier about the samples that you work with. You said the regulation is not really needed for this type of samples you work with. Can you tell me a bit about that?
So when we started, for example, with this biggest customer that we have nowadays, they are collecting these kind of soil samples all around the world. And they said that, do we have right or permission to hold these kind of soil samples? Take them some kind of litter, sand, anything. And I said that I don't think in Finland there is a legislation like dealing with these kind of things. Then I was kind of, again, searching for information. Then I called, for example, this food authority. And it seems that that is the kind of the authority in Finland who deals with this kind of thing, even though it's nothing to do with food. But they are responsible for all the things that come into Finland and might have some pathogens, these kind of things. And they said that they're not really that interested in our soil samples. And then I said that that's okay. So the customer is responsible for collecting and all the legislation until we have the samples. When we have the samples, we have to be sure that it's kind of free. And broadly, there's no kind of accreditation or this kind of certification for this environmental DNA at the moment, but it's coming. I think maybe during this or the next year even, they will have the new first few kind of certifications or some kind of accreditations for this. So nowadays, currently, it's kind of Wild West. So it's just anybody can do whatever they want. Some people maybe do it differently than the others, and everything is kind of okay at the moment. But I think it makes life easier when we have a protocol to follow. Then we just say that, okay, we have this kind of certificate, we do by this, and then that's it. Yeah.
That's a crucial point, because you're also highlighting the importance of not just focusing on your science and commercializing it or providing a service out of it, but you're also thinking about, okay, how does this work with the regulations, and I need to be up to date. I think this is a crucial point. So back to what you said. So now we're starting to grow. You're having your company, you're having more clients, and you're still in the middle. You're like, okay, I'm also a university lecturer. So how do you do the balance, and when is the right time for you to make that jump?
Well, I think it happens gradually when my work ends and I don't have the contract anymore. So that's actually how many things happen. You don't make the decision, somebody else makes it for you. So, for example, now I don't have a permanent position at the university. Okay. And but at the moment, it has been a kind of promoting even also the company career, because you need to have credibility if you go there and talk to these scientists. They don't want to talk to a person who has never studied biology and done anything. But I have done already quite a lot. So during this year, for example, it may be that next year I'm not at the university anymore, but who knows? I'm happy to be there. But if it happens, I'm not there. I'm still happy. This year, I guess I will publish my 100th publication.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. And then after that, I think I'm can say that I'm a experienced researcher. And then after that, I can still use this title as like a title of docent, which is actually nowadays they recommend that associate professor internationally. So that sounds cool. And then I can write it even into the company this kind of website or whenever. So it means that the company is based on actual research, and many of our methods have actually been published, which comes to the point that it's not kind of a secret. It's like nothing kind of can be at the moment patented or these kind of things, immaterial rights. We don't have them, but still, even though it's published, it's very difficult for just a random person to come and follow all the protocols and do it. But it's very important for our clients that they are somehow like published the protocols. Yeah. But now we are in the position where I need to start thinking about these things. Do we give too much information openly for all the steps? Because so far I've been writing these scientific reports, and we have given very detailed methods what we do. But in the future, we may have to restrict a little bit, so that otherwise someone can just take our report and start their own company, and then we have a competition. Of course, competition is good, of course, but still, yeah.
That's something to think about, because it seems like you were thinking like a researcher who wants to share the science openly, and this is anyways not patented, so why not?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah, but I have to do it. I have to think about researcher as long as I'm working at the university.
Okay.
So there's a kind of this double agent role somehow. So both of them are promoting for the science. Both of them are promoting for the biodiversity research and gaining more knowledge of the whole Earth and all the biodiversity. So there's kind of no conflict really. But at some point there might be. Some might think so. That how can I have this company when I'm still working at the university? But it's actually rather common nowadays. In our department, there are actually 2 or 3, 4 people who also have companies. Some are larger, some are smaller.
So this is not against the university regulations or some
No, it's not.
non-compete or...
Yeah. It would be if I started, for example, this kind of company that sells courses and teaching. Because I'm teaching also at the university. Then, yeah, it has happened that people start their own company and started to sell there while they are working at the university. That's kind of, because it's the same thing. Then kind of, yeah. But for us, it's kind of the service for anyone who is interested. So
for anyone who's interested.
Yeah.
That's lovely to hear. And like now that we know the steps and you shared very openly, like when is the right time for you to actually jump off? And you said maybe someone else will take that decision for me, because you seem to enjoy the research part, and it's also giving you more knowledge, more credibility. So it's not like it's taking away from you. It seems that your role at the university is very augmenting what you actually do. It's supporting you in a way. But then I'm wondering, as you're going through your journey, when was the right time for you to say, okay, I need to hire now?
Well, for me, I had to hire from the day one.
Day one.
My current contract was ending in 2020, and then I was unemployed, but only for 1 month. And during that summer, I established the company, and I did actually everything the wrong way, because I could have, anytime you establish company, you are entitled to different kind of support from the society, like a sort of grant or subsidies, but you have to do it before you establish the company. And for me, everything went totally wrong. I established the company without contacting anyone. I didn't ask for any of these grants for starting a new company. And then when I was unemployed, because I had just started the company, I didn't get any unemployment money. I didn't get anything from anywhere. So that was kind of if I did it now, I would know how to do it differently. And I instruct anyone to thinking about establishing company, just do all the research before you establish. You cannot send the application without the kind of first checking all the grants that you can have, or all the support from the society or the local business associates. So because they are quite large. Or they can be like 5,000 euros something, which is big for the small company to start with. So I did everything the wrong way. I just did it, and I was in a hurry basically because I had this pile of samples kept growing up all the time. I needed to do it immediately. But that was an issue because then I had to kind of also had the income. So that was a little bit of difficult. So I had to do something in beginning so that I had some first grant or just first income to the company, and then I hired and so on. So it was, yeah. But then after the first year, everything was a bit easier.
Thank you for sharing this point, because now you're also telling people like, yes, it's good to be entrepreneurial and you know, you're an innovator and you want to go out there and get your innovation out to the society. But at the same time, it's nice to also research support systems that we have around us. Yeah, because like you said, like you can actually you could have applied for this grant and it would have supported your business in the first at least few months. Yeah, I think this is excellent. So then, if I can ask you for a last piece of advice from someone new who's going to follow a bit in your tracks, to be a person who has the academic background and also going to become an entrepreneur, what would you tell them, and how do you tell them, like, how do you balance, you know, the best of both worlds?
I would say at first they should contact someone from there are these societies like Business Turku. Yeah, they help a lot. They are super nice people, and they contact me. I didn't contact them because I didn't know that these exist. And you should ask for kind of seek for knowledge and seek for kind of professional guidance from the business world. But it might be difficult because they speak totally different language than the researchers do. And I would also say that it's not that easy as it looks, being like an entrepreneur. So you have to do so many things. You have to know the law and everything, especially when you start hiring. If you work yourself, it's much easier, and then the risk is only for you. But as soon as you hire something, there are lots of costs. Like most of the money goes for the workers, and I would say that the balance is not very easy. Also, even though I said that it's good, but I only have certain hours in a day. And now I'm in a point, and even though, I don't know, I'm still doing research, I like it. I'm doing teaching at the university, I like it. And now I'm at the point that I see that my time doesn't it's not enough. I don't have enough time for both of these. If I want my company to develop, I should invest more time than I have currently. So there's kind of, and it might be very stressful. So people might easily get burned out if they try to do everything. I've been doing now for 5 years, so now it's kind of, now maybe I have to make the decision myself at some point. But shortly, the advice would be that contact someone and search for information, search for kind of guidance. It helps. It really helps.
It really helps. Yeah. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
We got a lot of information from you, and that really helps.
Yeah, I hope I can be of help.
Thank you so much, Eero. Pleasure to have you.